Real quickly, I'm going to explain what your choices are at the start of the second semester here. You have a wide range of choices. You have to pick at least two of these units to complete. And I'll sort of explain it once we're looking at the choices here. These are your choices. There are 4 units in total. And for each unit, there's usually 2 predominant project groups, and each of those project groups has at least a couple of choices. Some of them don't, but essentially within those project groups you have to complete one project. So for each unit you will do 2 projects, and those projects aren't necessarily easy projects. Some of them, usually the first project group is pretty easy. It's as you can see, most of those are like 3 days or 5 days, but when you do the second project for the unit, it'll be a little bit more time intensive. The reason for this is simply to introduce you to the unit at first and then sort of give you a much harder challenge for the second project in the unit. And the reason I'm having you do 2 out of the 4 units is so that you fill the time, obviously, with work and get a chance to explore some of your options. And hopefully you pick the units that you're interested in. I'll go over each project group within each unit and just sort of keep your eyes peeled for anything that looks mildly interesting or sounds interesting. And then keep in mind also that if you really like a unit and you want to do all of the projects within the unit, that is each and every choice for each project group, and that happens to fill the time allotted for you to complete 2 units, then I'm more than happy to let you do that. Although you do have to complete all the projects and they do have to fill the time. So if you happen to choose a very short unit, like the illustrating letter forms unit, and that doesn't consume all of the time, I will have you do another project from another unit to occupy your learning time with something engaging. The first unit is drawing with color. It's very straightforward. I mean to give you the tools and the exercises necessary to start thinking and rendering subjects in color. So it's a very straightforward unit for the most part. Your first project, you're just going to draw an object that's one color, and hopefully you stay within that one color range. Obviously my example here of the bananas has a couple other colors in addition to yellow, but for the most part they're working in one color plus black and white. That's really all this introductory project's meant to get you thinking about, is how to add color to black and white and the color of the paper. Your second project for the color unit is even more straightforward, a bit more practice really. You'll have a choice between drawing a highly reflective object, so kind of a shiny mirror-like object. That means that there's lots of details you have to capture, all the little reflections and different colors of gray reflected in the object, or you can choose to draw the entire still life in full color. I happen to think that's a little bit more straightforward, since you can pick the objects that are in the still life, and you can explore your colors a little bit more in the still life. You can be a little bit looser. It's not so concentrated on one subject, so you have a bit more free reign to be expressive and such. Your final project for the color unit is a choice between 2 equally demanding projects. The first option is the copy of a masterpiece, where you simply take any masterpiece from art history done by some Western master or Eastern master and copy it color for color, line for line. How you transfer that image over is totally up to you. You can use a grid, you can project it or trace it, what have you. But then you have kind of the hard task of matching the colors, and that can be sort of a skill unto itself. So as you match the colors, you'll learn how to match colors with dry or drawing media, and you'll sort of get to learn the master's forms and shapes and sort of like appropriate those for yourself. Your other choice is the expressive watercolor illustration. That's a really fun project. You'll have to draw at least one subject and render it with watercolors in sort of an expressive manner. And all that means is that the watercolors are kind of messy and playful, kind of like the example you see here. You'll have to integrate, though, more than one subject or more than one drawing media. So you can't just use watercolors or one subject. You have to add at least another media like pen and ink or graphite, and or another subject, and kind of a little bit more challenging for yourself. Really take a look at both of these. There's tons of great examples of what you can do with them. The next unit I simply call the black and white unit, but really it's a unit that kind of prepares you for taking computer arts with me if you want to. It kind of gets you in that sort of mindset of a graphic designer. So the first project here is called a simple symbol, and you'll be making symbols of a sort. The first project, you'll simplify a single object 6 times, so you'll draw it 6 times, and each time you'll make it simpler and simpler by removing details or drawing it different ways. The second project, you'll redesign restroom signs, which, even though that sounds kind of weird, essentially you have to make 2 signs that convey male or female through just the use of pictures, and that can be kind of hard. If you want it to really work across all cultural boundaries and such, you really got to think about what we associate with male and female, and you have to make a really bold, eye-catching design that really reads as male or female super quickly. So that's your first project for this unit. Your second project is a more complex design. The first project choice in this group is the radial wildlife illustration. I don't know how else to describe it. Essentially, you're going to take 5 drawings of natural objects and arrange them in a symmetrical fashion, hopefully around a center point with 2 lines of symmetry. So you'll be drawing each quadrant sort of the same. There's other kinds of symmetry you can explore, and I'll explain that in the actual project presentation, but for the most part, you're using objects from nature and making sort of fanciful, abstract black and white designs based on those drawings from nature. So you have a lot of freedom to explore your own style, your own patterns, but you really have to start with natural objects and sort of use that as a jumping off point. The other project for this does allow you to use color, but sort of in an exploratory way, not an explanatory representational way. The second choice is called one object, many drawings. So you're going to pick one object or one subject, and you're going to draw it 10 times. Each of those drawings is an exploration of how to represent that subject. So you get to play around with different media, different styles. You have to do 10 drawings, so each of those drawings has to be unique even though you're drawing the same thing. And that can be kind of a challenge. So it's something that'll get you outside of your comfort zone and get you thinking about different ways of representing the subject. If you run out of ideas, you might find a new facet to your style or a new way of representing things that you'd never tried before. So it's a really good project for, kind of expanding your creative muscles. When you get to this unit, if you do this unit, this is a great unit for graphic designers as well. But it can be used for nearly anything, and it has a lot to do with illustration, really. This is the letterforms unit. So the first project in this unit is called contemporary hand lettering. So you're going to look at a bunch of contemporary styles in hand lettering. It's still alive and well today, despite our reliance on computers. There's tons, thousands of illustrators that still make their living or always choose to or have to design letters. So really what you're doing is you're illustrating a short phrase, a single word, or maybe a single letter using a contemporary hand lettering style. And what style you pick, how you illustrate it, is totally up to you. I have hundreds of examples in this project lecture video here, and you'll be able to see just the wide range of styles used and hopefully make an informed decision as to what you want to explore with this particular project. And you have a lot of freedom with it, so make sure you pick something you like. Your second choice for the letterform unit is kind of delving into the history of letterforms. One of the choices is the Celtic letter illumination. That's the choice on the right. Essentially, you'll illuminate a short phrase, at least 14 words, and the first letter of that phrase you will illuminate in Celtic knotwork. So you have to use at least a 3x3 Celtic knot. Now, if you don't know how to make that kind of illumination style or decoration, I will show you how. There are resources in the project folder for you that will show you how to make Celtic knotwork, and there are also resources for how to write in that kind of calligraphic hand. So there's resources for that as well for you to practice and use. Your other choice is a micrography portrait. Micrography is just micro calligraphy, so really tiny writing, and you'll use it to resemble a subject of some sort, hopefully a portrait, but you can basically draw whatever you want, but you're going to use words as the kind of the value or the texture to create your subject. So you can use handwriting, you can keep your letters really tight and representational, you can make the words relate to your subject. Say like if you do a musical artist, you can make it lyrics from their song. It doesn't matter. You get a lot of freedom with this, and essentially you're using letter forms in an unconventional way to kind of represent something besides what they're actually writing about, what the words are literally saying. So there's a lot of associations and things you can do with the meaning behind words with this project, and that's the letter form unit. This unit is called hybridity, or the root word being hybrid. And a hybrid is when you crossbreed two species to create kind of a new species or a better species. So essentially in this unit you're combining two separate things in each of these drawings to create something new and hopefully creative or better or fantastic. So the first group of projects in the hybrid unit is called just simply combinations, and for each of these you'll combine two different things. So the first project choice you have is called the opposite weave drawing, and I couldn't think really of a better name for the project, but essentially you'll take two pictures that are gridded, so you'll draw a grid over them yourself, or you can use a 1-inch grid, and you'll combine both of those references into a single drawing. So on your drawing you'll have a grid, and then you'll selectively pick certain squares to combine into your drawing. And there's complete creative freedom with this. You can pick any images, you can pick which squares you choose to combine, you can combine them in any way you want, you can repeat squares, it doesn't really matter. There's a lot of freedom in this, but you have to combine two images using the grid. And again, the grid itself, if you don't want to do a square grid, you can do an orthodox shaped grid. You can keep pieces of the picture together. It doesn't really matter. There's lots of creative freedom with that project. The second drawing is a drawing, or the second project choice is a drawing called the awareness of the paper drawing. And essentially what you'll do is you'll draw a subject that is aware that it is in fact a drawing on a sheet of paper. So if you see the example in the middle, that gentleman is looks like he's swaying his hand, and it's like wiping his pants almost, and the graphite it seems to smear, so it's as if he's aware he is a drawing made of graphite. And if you look at the artists for this project, they are all breaking the fourth wall. They're all acknowledging as subjects that they are in fact representations of themselves stuck inside of a drawing, or part of a drawing, or made out of graphite. So you have to do the same for this drawing. You have to draw someone or something, or hopefully something with animacy, or that acknowledges it is inside of a drawing. And you can do this any way you want. You can have a photograph taken of somebody who seems to be like trapped in a box or something that is the drawing itself. You could do a drawing where it looks like you're drawing yourself. It doesn't really matter. There's tons of options for this. Take a look at the artist examples to sort of understand how to achieve this drawing. The third choice in this project group is called the newspaper drawing. You can draw on newspaper if you want, or any other ephemera, any other like printed material, so like a magazine or like a poster or something. And essentially what you'll do is you'll draw on top of that and sort of react to that, hopefully. So like if you pick a sheet of newspaper that's about some kind of news story that's like say a factory explosion, and you choose to draw the factory before it exploded or something, that would relate to the newspaper and sort of react to that and sort of bring up associations between the two subjects. How you do that is totally up to you. Again, you have a lot of creative freedom with what you draw and how you draw it and what media you use. There are a couple of extra suggestions I would have for that, but again, ask me if you're going to choose that project and I will help you with it. And of course, if you need a different kind of surface to draw on other than newspaper, like if you need a poster or you're thinking of getting something else, I can help you acquire certain materials if you're in need of them. The second project for the hybrid unit is called Collages, and it's a project group that involves collage for both projects. The first project is a drawing with the collage in it, so you'll take a photograph and you will physically paste it into your drawing and then draw around it. Can't get any more straightforward than that. So as you can see on the left here, that example is a portrait of a picture of a model that the artist has cut out and pasted to her paper, and then she's drawn these kind of fanciful patterns around it that sort of react to the model's shape and such. Hopefully when you do make your drawing, you do react to the photo in some way, shape, or form, or continue drawing the photo in a way. But you, again, have a lot of creative freedom with this. You have a lot of free reign to sort of do what you want and sort of explore the potential of using photographic imagery within your drawing. The second choice is called graphic drawings of collages. So instead of taking an actual photo and putting it into your drawing, you're going to make a collage first and then draw that collage. And then when you draw it, hopefully your style or the way you render the subject sort of unifies the two things together, and you get this sort of surreal quality to the drawing where it's this impossible thing is suddenly real. Take a look at the artist examples for that project. There are tons of them. They range in style and subject matter, from the absurd to the completely whimsical and fantastic and real almost. Some great examples in that project presentation of what to do with that, and hopefully you choose to combine two subjects that go well together, and when you render them as realistically as possible. If you're having trouble thinking of things to do that fit your skill level for either of these projects, let me know and I'll work with you on that. But again, these are your choices, your unit choices and the individual project group choices within those units for the start of the second semester. Remember, you have to pick at least 2 of the units, and if you really, really love one unit in particular, you can do all of the choices for that unit, so long as it occupies the time set aside for the class to complete these projects. So again, make sure you talk with me before you start a project so that I know what you're working on and can grade you on it and help you with it. Don't work in ignorance, and yeah, please make sure you check out the project group presentations for each of these before you proceed to start the project. This is just an overview of the projects. This is not the actual project criteria themselves, so you do have to watch those lectures in order to commence working on a particular project or a particular unit.